Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 23 of my Android Development for Beginners tutorial. Today we're going to make a game with App Inventor Canvas. This is actually going to be the next to last tutorial on App Inventor. In the next part, I am going to show you how to transition from App Inventor to regular Android Java, and I'm also going to cover AI to Live Complete. This is basically, the next video is going to be all about getting at the code for making App Inventor apps, which is something everyone's been looking at. But right now we're going to make a game with App Inventor all in this one tutorial, so let's go and look at the game we're going to make. And here it is. It's basically a Pong game, but using this I'm going to basically be able to design or show you how to use Canvas in multiple different ways. So you're going to be able to move the paddles around just by moving left and right and hit the balls, and that's what it's going to do. And I'm sure you notice that there are no buttons. You're basically going to be able to click anywhere on the screen and go right to left. You're going to be able to restart the game, and also down in the bottom left hand corner you're also going to be able to track your hits and your lives. So let's go make it. Okay, so you saw the game that we are going to make, so let's go in here and let's start making it. I'm going to come over here to Layout and get a horizontal arrangement and just drop it right here. I'm going to build the whole entire thing for you. One thing I want to do here first is to go into Screen 1 right here, and I'm going to change a couple things here. I'm going to say that the screen orientation on this is going to be Portrait and Scrollable No. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do for that. Then for the horizontal arrangement, this guy right here, well, let's just go over here and click on it. I'm going to have both the width and the height be fill parent. So fill parent and fill parent, right like that. I'm going to come over here now and get Canvas, and we're going to be able to bounce balls around and do all sorts of things with this. And then I'm going to come over here and upload file, and I went and just drew a very simple thing. This is going to be an extremely simple game, as you saw. And then I'm going to come in here and get my board, which is just very simple. There you go, there is my board. And then I'm going to come over here and resize everything. And I'm just going to go width and height, fill parent. There we go. Then I'm going to come over here and get a ball, and this is what's going to be bouncing around. Just grab it and throw it somewhere in the middle of the screen. And then I'm going to get an image sprite, this guy right here, drag it over. I'm going to put it near the bottom, so let's just throw it right there. We're going to handle where they end up being in the actual block section. And then I'm going to get myself a picture for my image sprite, and I'm going to need to upload a new file. And here it is, choose file, and this is just going to be the little paddle that you saw. So there it is. And okay, and now there's the paddle. That's how easy that was. And you can import anything. It doesn't have to be this simple. I just wanted to keep it simple. Then what I'm going to do for the other information, I'm going to go into Layout. I'm going to get a horizontal arrangement, drag it down here. Well, drop it. Oh, didn't go in there. So what I'm going to have to do is for this horizontal arrangement right here, the height, I'm just going to say automatic just for now. And then I'm going to get myself like a little bit of a padding here, which I'm going to use a label for that. Drag that, drop it right there, come over here, get rid of the text in the label, and let's make the width on this guy right here 5 pixels, and then hit OK, and there we go. Then I'm going to get me another label. It's nice to see that they are updating App Inventor still. There's a couple new things, of course. Now that I'm planning on ending the tutorial, they went and added a couple additional things, but hey, I'm sure that I've covered enough that you guys will have no problem learning all this stuff. And then for that label, I'm going to type in hits, and then I'm just going to put a 0 there, and then I'm going to put lives, and I'm going to put a 3 right there. There we go. And the width on this thing, let's see. I did absolutely very little planning in making this one, so let's see what that looks like. And then at the end I want to put a button that's going to allow us to start and restart and so forth and so on. Our little game. There's the button. Come over here, figure out what we want to put. Let's say we want to put start inside of here. How does that look on the screen? Let's try increasing the width on our button to say like 80 pixels or something like that. And it's getting close, and then let's come in here to this and let's increase this to say 220 pixels. Something like that. And that's pretty good right there. Alright. Now I'm going to go back to the horizontal arrangement up here, and I'm going to say fill parent for our height. There we go, and there we go. Now I'm just going to change these names a little bit. So for my image sprite right here, I'm going to rename that, and I'm going to call it paddle image sprite. Okay, just so it's a little bit easier to understand what that is. I'm going to leave this called canvas right here, no problem. Horizontal arrangement I'm not going to change. Maybe I want to change this to padding, just so I know exactly what it is. Padding label, that's good. And what do we want to change this label right here. Let's call this stats label, and there that is. And then the button, let's just call it start button, because that makes sense. Start button. Okay, done. That's all I'm going to do for this guy right here, and I'm going to jump over in the block section and make all this stuff work. Okay, so what do I want to do here? Well, I'm going to need to position my paddle in the right place on the screen, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to do that a couple times. So let's do a procedure for that. There's a procedure. The 2 times I think I'm going to have to work with the paddle or put it into position is whenever the start button's clicked on and whenever the app first starts off. So let's just call this restart, because that's pretty much what's going on. And that means we're going to have to come in here and make a couple variables. So let's just come in here and get that, and move this down a little bit, move this over here. And what variables are we going to need here? Ball speed is also something that we are going to need. Initial value is 0. And then we're going to need a couple more here. Paddle, Y position, duplicate. We're going to have to monitor the hits, obviously, because that's at the bottom of the screen. And also at the bottom of the screen is going to be lives, because we know that because I just looked at it. Scroll this up a little bit, change this to lives, and I'm going to give them an initial 3 lives at the very beginning of the game. And also we're going to need paddle X position. That's going to define the position of our paddle on the screen on the X coordinate, so from left to right, and the Y of course is going to be up and down. So that's how we're going to position it. Change this to X position, and let's give this an initial value of 160, because I know that App Inventor's default size is 320 pixels wide, so make that 160, and then we'll change it later on. Okay, so what is restart going to do? Well, it's going to first set the paddle X position, so let's get this. Whoops, I don't want to get it. Delete that. I want to set it, and I'm also going to set the Y position. And how am I going to define the paddle X position? Well, put it in the middle of the screen. So screen, and I'm going to need to get the screen width for whatever this is running on. And there that is down there. So let's just get that, drag it up here. And what I'm going to do is just divide by 2. So go over in the math section and divide by 2. And there's a screen width. And 2 is what I'm going to divide by. If you didn't catch that the first 5 times I said it. Sometimes I'm goofy. Okay, and then the Y position, I'm going to multiply that. Let's say I want to put it 80% up the screen from the screen. So let's say, I know it's going to fit, so that's why I'm saying that. Might have to change it later. And let's do that. And then let's get the height for our screen. So screen, and there's screen height. Drop it right there. And then to get the 80, you actually can't use periods without getting this thing here. So get that, or decimals, and put 0.8. That will make it show up 80% down the screen. And then I want to move the paddle into position, and how you move an image sprite, which is what this is called. Move to, and then we're going to get our X position and our Y position, and that's how you move around on the screen. And there's Y. Now let's say we want to move our ball into position. Well, it's pretty easy. Just click on ball, and it's the same thing. It's just move to. So move to. There's move to, drop it right there. And if I want to move this guy into position, probably what makes sense, well, paddle X is already in the middle of the screen, so I can just duplicate that. And this is at the beginning of the game. And then paddle Y, I'm just going to do 50% of the height, so I can just duplicate this and then change this to 50. And there we go. Another thing, I'm thinking I want to change the ball's color to red whenever the game is over or something, just to do something, and also just as an excuse to change the paint color of the ball. So to change the paint color of the ball, come in here, set paint color, there it is, drop it. And then of course we can just come over here to colors, and it'll start off as black and stay black until the end of the game, and then we'll make it red or something. I then also, since we're restarting the game, I'm also going to want to set the hits back to their default, as well as lives to 3. So that's the whole point of this guy. So drop the lives right there and the hits right there, and set them back to their default values. Hits and lives. And there we go. And anything else I want to do? Oh, I want to update the stats, of course, because I just changed these. So I think I'm actually going to do that in another procedure, because I'm probably going to have to change the stats multiple times. So let's go in here to this, create another procedure, and I'm going to call this update stats. And to do that, we're going to get a stats label and set the text for it. You guys all know how to do this. I think you do, if you followed the other tutorials. And then of course we're going to have to do a join, because we have to do more than one thing on this. And then for our join, we're going to need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. hits, and then I want to get the global hits, and then let's get the lives also, and duplicate, and then this is going to be lives. I'm going to put a space in there though, lives, and then make sure there's a space here. No, there already was. Okay, so there you go. That's going to work that way. So now what we can do is, let's move this down a little bit, and we're going to be able to go over here to the procedure and call update stats, and that's going to update that for us each time we call it. Okay, so whenever we initialize the screen, what are we going to want to do? We're going to want to come in here and first get it initialized. You know what, I'm just going to put it right here, and then I'm just going to call restart. I might organize this a little bit better with the blocks that I have on my website. There's a link in the description to all those all the time if you guys want them. So there's screen one. Whenever it starts, it's just going to call restart. So that's useful. And it's particularly useful because I can have the start button do the same exact thing. So I'm going to go start button, and whenever it's clicked on, if the user wants to restart the game, you're going to be able to come in here and just call restart also. And there that is. Boom. Got both of those fixed. Now, how are we going to make our ball work? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the user, in a paddle game, you normally throw the ball against the wall and then like hit it back and forth to yourself. So I'm going to have you actually throw the ball. And to do that, you use flung. There's a couple other different things here, but you'll get the hang of it just from watching this. And to be able to throw it, basically, you have to get the ball head or the heading of the fling, with your hand or your finger, and set it to the ball. So you just click on this, and then you go into heading, set ball heading, right like that, and then just set it to the heading of the finger gesture. And there you go. That's all you have to do. It's really cool. And if you want to get the speed, well, you can actually get the speed of how fast you flung it and set that to ball. Well, but we already have a ball speed being monitored up here. There that is. So let's go and set it first, because that's something we'll probably want to monitor. I literally do this. I'm doing this out of my head, so, Alright, so what am I going to do here? I think I'm going to have the ball speed be pretty fast in comparison even to the finger fling, because I've played with this in the past, and the speed of how fast you think you're throwing it is slower than what you think. So let's make it 4. So the ball's going to get thrown 4 times the speed of how you moved your finger. And then what we can do is set the ball speed over here. And there that is, set ball speed, and then it's going to be ball speed again. Let's get this, drag it down here, and there you go. That's what you need to do. Now, how am I going to work the controls? Well, as you saw in the demonstration of the app, I didn't have any buttons. Basically, what I think I want to do here is I want to actually allow the user basically to touch anywhere on the right side of the screen or anywhere on the left side of the screen, and then have the movement be that way, just to keep everything nice and easy and keep the controls nice and slick. Well, to do that, I know I'm going to need these paddle position things, so let's just move them down here. There we go. And basically you can go into the canvas, and anytime the user clicks anywhere or touches anywhere with their finger, it's going to go and register that. So let's say, what do I want to use? I'll use touched. So anytime they touch on the canvas, it's going to do stuff. Well, basically all I need to do is the paddle X position that we have right here. If the user is, actually let's not even use that. Let's come up here and get this thing right here, and let's duplicate this. Duplicate. Anytime they click on the left side of the screen, which is what this is going to do or define for me, I'm going to have them move left. Anytime they click on the right side of the screen, we're going to have them move right. Alright, so control, come over here. If, then, get this, drop it right there. And then let's go into the math section, and greater than, if, we're going to get the X where they touched, and if it is greater than this guy right here, we're going to move to the right side of the screen. But another thing I want to verify is I don't want them to move off of the screen altogether. So I'm going to come in here to control again, get another if, drop it right there, and then let's just duplicate this guy, drop it there. And then this time I'm going to get rid of the X that's inside of there and replace it with paddle X position. And as long as it's less than paddle X position plus 25, say. So let's go over into the math and get a plus sign and go paddle X position. Like I said, this is just keeping it from moving off the screen. It's going to ignore it. 25. There we go. Well, actually, what am I saying here? I'm thinking one thing in my head and doing something else on the screen. What I want to do is make sure that it's less than 240, let's say, to make sure it stays on the screen. Sorry about that. And then, if that is true, I'm going to move the X position 25 spaces to the right. Okay? And then after we do all that, we just basically have to move our sprite, which is just another move too. And then where we're going to move it to is paddle X and Y position. So good. Otherwise, else, if in this situation X is less than the screen width divided by 2, well then we know that they clicked with their finger on the left side of the screen. So I can actually duplicate this, what I just did, and then just switch a couple things around. But first off, I'm going to need to come in here and go else, right here, and then duplicate this, duplicate, drop it down there, and then I'm going to say greater than, let's say 10, to make sure it stays on the screen as well. And then we're going to need a minus instead of a plus sign in this situation. Over here, get a minus, drop it right there. Just get this and drop it right here, and minus 25. And then let's just delete this and put this one in there instead. And everything else stays the same, so that's good. So that's all we need to do to make the paddle move from left to right on our screen. Another thing we have to do is figure out what happens when the ball hits the paddle. Now let's just have the paddle handle that event, and let's say collided with. There's collided with. Then we're going to get our control, and we're going to say if the thing that the paddle collided with, which is also known as other, let's just go logic equal to. So if other, let's go get, is equal to ball 1, and we can get ball 1 by going over here and then scrolling down to ball 1. There it is. Drop it right there. If it hit the ball, well, we want the ball to bounce. So let's go ball and get the bounce right like that. And then we'll just say -1, make it go in that opposite direction. And then let's say we also want to increase the ball speed just to keep things interesting. So let's go get our ball speed that's up here. So each time you hit the ball, it's going to start going faster and faster and get more difficult to actually hit. Well, then let's go up here and get the ball speed. And what's going to happen is each time the ball and the paddle hit, the ball's going to go quicker and quicker and make it harder to play the game. So ball speed is equal to ball speed plus, let's just say 1. I don't know, we might want to change that to 2 or something later on. Make it a little bit harder. And then it's just going to be ball speed plus 1. And there we go. And then we'll set the ball speed over here. And then we can just duplicate this. And what else do we want to do? Well, since we were able to hit the paddle against the ball, we're going to have to update hits. So let's go up here. Let's just grab hits and move the whole doggone thing down here. And we're going to first set the hits. And we're going to increase the hits. Duplicate. We'll just go hits and then 1. And then after we do that, we can also call update. So update stats, because the hits have changed. Okay, and that's all we need to do. And basically the only other thing I can think of that we need to do is handle what are we going to do whenever the edge of the screen has been hit by the ball. Well, to handle that, all this stuff's built into these little things, so that's what's really cool. Edge reached, there it is. It handles it for you. And there we go. Well, we're going to want the ball to bounce. Let's just duplicate that. And what do you want it to bounce off of? The edge. So get that. There we go. It bounces off the edge. See, it makes sense. Now what do we want to do if the ball hits the bottom of the screen? Well, you can actually get the bottom of the screen by asking if the value of edge is equal to -1. If it is, then we're going to decrease the lives and so forth and so on. If, get the edge right here, and we're also going to have to get logic equal to if the edge is equal to -1. Well, then we know we hit the bottom of the screen, they got past our paddle. So we want to decrease the value of lives. Up here, grab a set, and let's get lives, and a get, and a math, -1. Current value of lives, -1. And there we go. We just decreased that. And the other thing I want to do is have game over signal if lives ever reaches a point where it is equal to 0. Control again, if, grab this, lives is equal to 0. Well, in this situation I can't use update because I'm just going to put game over down there. So let's say that I want to do something with the stats label, and let's just keep this really simple, and let's just say game over in capital letters so that they know we're serious. And then let's change the ball speed to 0 so that the ball stops bouncing around because the game's over. And let's also change the ball's paint color. I mean, you could do all sorts of things here. Set the paint color. So the speed is going to be equal to 0, And the paint color is going to be equal to red. And the only other thing we need to do is update stats. And, well, actually, we don't want to update stats in that situation. We want to update stats in a situation where we didn't get into the part where lives is equal to 0. So we'll say else update stats, which is the equivalent of what we just did right there. And that's it, guys. That is the app. That is an explanation of how to use Canvas. And like I said, next time what I'm going to do is show you exactly how to transition or how to access the code for App Inventor apps. And then I'm also going to cover AI to Live Complete, which I've been asked about a lot of times. Please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.